So this is the next part of Lab 3 of Unit 2 of the 3D Modelling and Animation module. In this exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to create arrays of those components we've just created. So let's have a look at the start of this project. What I've got here is, let's see, I've got a very simple application. All I've got is a full button, and I've put in a numeric stepper, which allows me to select between 0 and 9, because we're going to have between 0 and 9 men in our array of characters. So in the actual source code here, what have I done? I've really ripped out most of the code that we've had before. I've introduced an import statement here to import a character from FB character, and this character 2 is just exactly the same as the previous character component we've had. I've just renamed it to prevent confusion. I've also got an array of characters here. That's where we're going to put our newly created character 2 components. We have an initialization function as normal, which adds an on into frame event handler, and there's an on full click event here, or rather function, which we will use later on. Down here we've got the details of the numeric stepper, which is ID of ST1, and we've still got our full button, which calls this event handler here. All right. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to add our array of characters. So in the initialization here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a for loop, which will use a normal index variable I, type int, initialize to 0, and we're going to create 10 of these new characters. And of course, every time we go around the loop, we're just simply going to increment it, and there's our loop. So in here, what we can do is we can create our new characters. So we've got a variable, and I'm going to call it char here. And this char is going to be of type character 2, there we go. And we're going to instantiate it immediately. Character 2, there we go. What we can then do is we can start accessing the character's attributes. So we're going to set its X position up to a multiple of I, the index value, so that it's distributed across the screen, and we'll set the Y value up to be, say, 100. There we go. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to obviously have to add it onto our array, which is called chars, and we can push this on. So there we are, we're pushing it on, and that will mean that we can refer to it easily later on. The other thing that I'm going to do, of course, is I'm going to add an element to the current application, so it will appear as a screen. Now let's just save that. Now at the moment, the character that we've got here is, when it initializes, it initializes to invisible. So I'm going to want to start it walking immediately. Now I could in here put something like char.walk, and it's even giving you the code hinting to suggest that you can do that. But that can sometimes give problems. So let's just run it and see if it will give a problem this time. Yeah, there we are. The problem is that it's trying to access an undefined object. So why is it doing that? Well, because although we've instantiated it there, it hasn't completed the implementation of that character, and therefore we can't access it at that particular point. So what instead I'm going to do is I'm going to add this walk function to the end of the initialization. of the actual character itself. Now, of course, I could have done something in here, and I could have waited on some sort of event which I could have generated, but it's a lot simpler just to put it straight into the initialization. And now when we run it, let's see what happens. So now we've got our group of men walking across, and they're walking off the end of the screen. So of course the first thing I have to do is make them rotate, and the way I'm going to make them rotate is in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to loop round exactly the same as I did before. So I'm going to pinch that for loop. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the, here we go. I'm going to look at the position of each of the characters inside my array. Alright, so all we're going to do here is we're going to say if this character, its x, is greater than the width of this container, then what we want is we simply want to zero that value. There we go. Let's run that quickly. Now the minimum size is set to something bigger than this, so if I move it over here, there we are, it should start rotating this time, and here go the guys, there we go. So it's now rotating. But of course what we want to do is we want to make some of them full, depending on what value we set up there, just to show a demonstration of indexing into the array. So what we're going to do here is we're simply going to say char, and we're going to use the value of st1, which is the stepper. There we go, the value of st1 to index into these. And what we want to do is we want to make it full. Whoops, there we go. And now let's see if this works. So I'll stretch this out a little bit again so they can turn around. There we are. I'll increment this to say number 4, and we'll make 4 full, and we'll make 5 full, etc. And we can make 7 full. There we go. And you get the idea. Alright, the next thing that we want to do is we want to see if we can add some sort of click event and then know what character has actually fallen and do something to that fallen character. So what we can do is we can add an event handler on the fall and print out something about that particular character. And I'll leave that till the next lab. Thank you.